Hey guys, this is Mr. Olshan, and I'm going to be providing you with a tutorial on how to make animated GIFs in Keynote.
So the first thing you want to do is open the Keynote app. And you should have a blank slide, which you can then simply click on the text boxes and delete those so that we're working with a clean blank slide here. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit the paintbrush in the upper right corner. And I'm going to change my color, and you can find all of that in the backgrounds here. Kind of like this yellow. And I'm going to begin by adding some shapes from the menu here. So the little square and circle icon, these are all of your shapes, and we can search pretty much for anything here. There's a pretty nice library of shapes. So I just searched a tree, and I got a little blue tree. I'm going to click on the paintbrush here, and let's change that to a green tree. And I want to make a couple of trees, but rather than going back into the shapes, I'm going to simply click on my tree, and I'm going to copy and paste it. And I'll do that a couple more times there. Just for fun, I'm going to change my green here to a different colored green. And I've got a nice little set of trees here. And what I want to do is I'm going to create an animation here that's going to involve some wind blowing these trees. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to group all of my trees together. And I'm going to do that by simply clicking and holding on one of my images, and then with my other hand I'm going to click my other trees, and I'll have the option here to group all of those images together. So now when I animate them, they're all going to move at the exact same time. So next I'm going to just get a little, I think I'm going to just get a shape like a square. And this is going to be my dirt. So I'm going to change that to brown. There we go. And let's go with, that's pretty good. And as you can see, the dirt's on top of the trees. We don't want that. So I'm going to go back to that paintbrush, and if I click on the Arrange tab, I can move that to the back so it looks like it's sitting on a little plot of land. And now I'm going to add some wind, and the library for shapes is pretty solid. Even if I search wind, I actually have a little wind icon there. So I'm going to click on that paintbrush and change that to black. And I'm going to click it and copy and paste. So I have two of them. And similar to the trees, I'm going to group this wind together by clicking and holding on one while clicking on the other. And now I'm going to create an animation that makes this wind blow through the trees. So by clicking on my wind, you can see the little animate button there on the right. If I click on that, I'm going to add the action, the bottom middle, and I'm going to click on Create Path, which is going to allow me to click and drag my wind on any path that I choose. So just make some like wind-like motion there. It's pretty good. And you can see now that's what it's going to look like, the wind kind of blowing through the trees. So I'm going to hit done. And I also want the trees to do something, so I'm going to click on the trees, and I'm going to add an action here. And I'm going to make the trees jiggle when the wind blows through it. But what I'd like to do is actually have that all happening at the same time. So right now the wind blows and then the trees jiggle. I'm actually going to change the build so that they're together with build 1. And I'm going to put it on a delay of about half a second or maybe 4/10 of a second. Now if we preview this, oh, sorry. Now if we play this, see how the trees were kind of blowing with the wind? So I'm still going to change that one more time because it happened a little bit slow there. So let's go back to the build, and I'm just going to make this a little over half a second. Okay, so now I've got my animation. There's the trees blowing in the wind. Cool. But we've got to add our text. So if we go to the plus sign, you can actually type under shapes the word text, and you'll get a little text box that you can move wherever you want. If we click on that text box, we can write in. So I'm going to write my line of personification.
The trees danced in the wind.
And when I click on that text and I go to my paintbrush, now I have the option to change my size. I can change the color. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. I'm fine with the black text here. And we're going to drag that out just a little bit. And we want to make sure that we also know, well, what kind of figurative language is used. So we're going to create another text box. I'm going to put that underneath. And here's where I'll write personification. And what I'd like to do for this is actually have it show up after the animation. So it's kind of like a animated flashcard that I can use to help me study. So I'm actually going to click on this and go to animate. And we're going to do a build-in here. And I'm going to choose this flame because it's just great. And now when I go to my slide, when I click on my slide, we've got our animation first. We've got the wind blowing through the trees danced in the wind, and then personification shows up. And that's pretty much our animated slide at this point. I am going to look at the build order, and I'm going to make the personification flame show up after the trees jiggle, so we don't even have to click the slide again, and I'll make a little delay here. Sorry, that made a little noise. We can click on the three dots in the upper right-hand corner, and click on the export button, and you can actually export and save this as an animated GIF. And all the settings here are fine, but the reason that I like exporting it as an animated GIF, we'll share it to our images, so we'll save image, is that when we go to our photos, and we click on it, it's just basically going to autoplay for us. And there's our personification showing back up, and it'll just kind of keep repeating like a GIF would, but it's a really nice little digital flashcard. So that is how you create an animation in Keynote.